So from the very beginning of this Moscow campaign to stop the anti-communist movement in this country, it was an important part of the communist strategy to get their liberal American friends to carry out an attack against patriotic organizations. Of course, the communists have learned not to attack all patriotic groups at once. Their strategy is to focus on just one organization and make it so detestable and ugly in the public mind that they can hold it up as a sort of tar baby and then use it to smear all other individuals or groups in the same category. It was interesting to see just where the communists would begin their dirty work. Which organization would be singled out to get the tar brush treatment? It could have been the American Farm Bureau, which the communists have consistently denounced. It could have been the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, the DAR, the Sons of the American Revolution. These have been favorite communist targets in the past, as had J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. As it turned out, it was none of these. Instead, the communists chose to focus their attack on a fairly new organization, which very few people had heard about, including myself. They decided to level practically their entire arsenal on the John Birch Society. For the non-political Birch Society had within it both the policy, the program, and the personnel to help defeat the conspiracy in this country. And the communists knew it, for they had seen its results. On February 25th, 1961, the official communist paper in California, The People's World, came out with the opening blast. It said there is a new, secret, fascist society which is setting up cells all over the United States. They said it was the most serious threat to the American way of life. That was the signal for the bloc of American liberals to take up the torch, and they did. Overnight, the patriotic campaign against communism was almost completely forgotten as the liberal vigilantes heroically rode out in full force to save the country from the terrible Birchers. Not only the ultra-liberal forces rallied to the battle, but some of the most respected conservative press took up the hue and cry, and many prominent, highly respected Americans also fell for the deceptive line. The communists had intended to confuse the American people, and they did. The tar brush tactics smeared the image of the new, small, but rapidly growing John Birch Society to the point where many people thought it must be a group of neo-Nazis or a revival of the Ku Klux Klan. Some prominent, highly respected men who were so deceived that they declared that the infiltration of the John Birch Society was equally as bad as the infiltration of the godless communist conspiracy. From the beginning of this attack, the John Birch Society pleaded for some kind of official investigation so the truth about them could be given to the public. They believed this was the only way they could counteract the tidal wave of false propaganda which was being heaped upon them. But the investigation was so long in coming that the purposes of the Communist Liberal Coalition were completely accomplished. It will probably be a long time before the official report on the John Birch Society gets an honest hearing. This investigation was conducted by trained investigators who were working for the California Senate Fact-Finding Committee on Un-American Activities. The investigation took 2 years. Sworn affidavits were obtained from scores of people. The attacks on the society were studied. Interviews were conducted with detractors and supporters of the society. Undetected investigators attended Birch meetings. The Senate fact-finding report was issued in June 1963. But even this report was recklessly distorted by some of the liberal press stories. I therefore obtained a copy of the report myself so I could see what was in it. The report is 62 pages long, was signed by all members of the committee, and was issued by the President pro tem of the California Senate, Senator Hugh M. Burns, a Democrat. Here are a few quotes from the report. The Society had been publicly charged with being a secret, fascist, subversive, un-American, anti-Semitic organization. We have not found any of these accusations to be supported by the evidence. And a further quote from the report, we believe that the reason the John Birch Society has attracted so many members is that it simply appeared to them to be the most effective, indeed the only organization through which they could join in a national movement to learn the truth about the communist menace and then take some positive, concerted action to prevent its spread, unquote. This report also goes on to verify what I have already told you, namely that the attack against the John Birch Society commenced with an article in the People's World, California Communist paper. Now, in the light of what I have just related, you will understand my feelings when people would ask how I felt about the John Birch Society. Because of the amazing effect and the effective propaganda against them, it has been very unpopular to defend this group. I can remember when it was unpopular to defend my own church. Nevertheless, as soon as I learned what the communists and liberals were doing to the John Birch Society, I felt a deep indignation that this should happen to any non-political, patriotic group of American citizens. I felt it was dishonest, immoral, and crass hypocrisy. I still feel that way. One liberal congressman attacked the society, claiming it was rotten to the core. Other influential liberals said they objected to the society's methods. If it was rotten to the core, the California Senate fact-finding investigators couldn't discover it. Some of the finest, best-informed Americans I know have endorsed the society and its program, including a number of former FBI agents and officials, counter spies, intelligence and security officers, and so on. Many nationally prominent, patriotic Americans serve without pay on its council. As to its methods, the report describes the society as a study group organization designed to, quote, first learn the facts about communism and then implement that knowledge with effective and responsible action, unquote. Now, what is wrong with such methods as these? It was communists and American liberals who objected to these methods because they were effective. They turned out to be traditional American methods that I could find no fault with.